Shopping has become like a dirty word on the internet, especially on YouTube. I thought her video was less fascinating. I thought the reaction was much more fascinating because Today's a little bit of a different video. We are going to be doing laundry or folding laundry and talking about some touchy topics that I wanted to discuss today. And I really want to know what your opinions are on a lot of these things. So let's have a discussion going because they might touch some nerves or they might elicit some strong opinions. And I'm always interested in having a healthy discussion and really just learning from each other. So I'm folding laundry with you because I tend to fold laundry when I'm watching YouTube. And there's something very peaceful and therapeutic about folding laundry and watching YouTube. So that's the only way I can get through laundry, which is probably one of those dreaded chores that we hate doing, but it just never ends and it never goes away. So let's talk about the first thing, which was the reaction towards the Nikki Sky video. I've actually never watched any of her videos before. I know the name because I think it's come up a long time ago on my feed once. So I am not a subscriber of Nikki Sky. I did do a quick scroll on her channel just to see what type of videos that she makes, and a lot of her videos, it seems to me, is based on fashion trends and how to be the cool girl, the it girl, you know, how to look cool, or I don't know, that kind of vibe. And that is definitely not my cup of tea or the types of videos I like to watch. So I'm definitely less familiar with her. But I did watch that last video that she posted about how it's all a lie. It only came to my attention because there were a few reaction videos that had come up on my feed about her video. And so that, of course, led me to watching her video, and I did watch it. And I have to say, I was really surprised at some of the criticisms or the negativity or the mocking of her video. And maybe this is where you guys can help fill in the blanks for me, because again, I'm coming from a place of not knowing her or being familiar with any of her content. But a lot of it was like just screaming at her of being like a hypocrite or being fake or not being authentic or, you know, following a minimalist trend or whatever it is. And I'm gonna start off by saying, I will say, if I'm speaking from a third-party objective kind of place, I can see where her video may have been a little bit patronizing for some people with the background violin, inspirational music, and I think even the cadence and her tone in which she was speaking was a little bit patronizing. So I do get that, totally. What I didn't understand was some of the attacks on her with being a hypocrite. Again, not knowing anything about her, but I think when it comes to like being hypocritical or whatever it might be, I think there is something to be said about giving people grace and allowing people to evolve and change their opinions and change their minds and make those decisions for themselves, because that is all about human experience, is about continuously evolving, continuously changing and learning. And that's the best part about human nature and just growing in general. So I was a little confused as to why everyone was going about it in that way and sort of the negative reactions. I think some of the reactions that I had read in the comments of other videos reacting, and also other creators who were actually reacting. Now, granted, I did not watch all of those videos. I only watched a couple. But my question, I guess, is, did some people take her video to heart and take it very personally? And the reality is that like not every video is talking to you and speaking to you personally. But I think her intent was pure or innocent in the sense that I think she was just sharing her personal journey and evolution, and it wasn't necessarily to shame anyone in enjoying and liking the things that they have and that they find of value that she no longer finds of value. So I do think potentially people were taking some of that a little bit personally, and so felt personally attacked, which I personally did not. I think some of the reactions were also that she was implying that potentially a lot of us buy handbags because we want to look a certain way or portray a certain status or dress or buy for other people's sake. And I think most of us would agree that we don't do that. We buy things because we personally like them, but there is something to be said that there are other people who buy things because they buy into the hype. And, you know, I think that there's truth in that, and that's not necessarily everyone who was watching that video, and that's not necessarily speaking to you personally, but I think that there could be some truth in that with some people. There's plenty of instances where we hear of people saying, I bought into the hype and now I regret it, or I thought it was going to make me feel a certain way and I bought it and it didn't and now I regret it. Like, those things happen, and I don't necessarily think that that's right or wrong. I think that everyone has their journey, and I don't think it's all a linear path. There's a lot of instances or ways that people can say that someone is acting hypocritical, but I think it's a little bit more convoluted, a little bit more complex than that, because it's not a linear process. And we all go through journeys where we fall down a rabbit hole where we're perhaps, you know, sucked into a certain path, and then we kind of realize, oh, this is not the way I want to live. And so we make changes. And I think that that was her just potentially showing her own journey and explaining her own journey, which she has every right to do. And certainly everyone has their right to then react to certain videos. I think what I'm trying to say is that some people, I think, were saying, well, I don't buy things for other people or show off a certain way, and I don't do it for any other reason than for myself. But I think the difference is that we here in the handbag community, because we choose to subscribe to certain channels that talk about handbags and our love for handbags, I think generally speaking, we're a pretty supportive community. And I think that's the beauty of this handbag community, especially on YouTube, is that we all get it, because we like to support each other, and we're always kind of like rooting for each other or really excited for each other when we show our new handbags that we bought or the ones that we're really enjoying or whatever. Like, in this handbag community on YouTube is very positive, and we all genuinely care to cheer each other on. And I think that's the difference, because I think for someone like Nikki, who's more in like the fashion influencer genre, that's a completely different community in my mind. I don't think that they're nearly as supportive of each other. I think it's probably, I would imagine, to be very cutthroat and kind of like similar to how the Devil Wears Prada kind of vibe, where, you know, everyone's very competitive against each other. And I would imagine if I were Nikki and an influencer in that way, that would be pretty exhausting, and perhaps that's probably what kind of made her make that major shift. And I agree, it's very extreme to go from like having everything to then decluttering and having nothing. I guess what I'm saying is, like, who are we to necessarily judge in that way and fill in the blanks of so many things that kind of went on in her head that we don't know or understand or didn't hear from her? There's no way that you can possibly get into somebody's mind and sort of understand all the nuances. But my point is there's a lot of nuance that we all don't know and understand. And so I think some of us kind of filled in the blanks, and I'm not sure that those filling in the blanks was necessarily accurate or fair. So there's nothing wrong with her sharing her journey, and I think there's nothing wrong with also having opinions that might be extremely opposite to what she was trying to or intending to convey. Potentially, she could have done a better job of being a little bit less patronizing in her messaging. Hindsight's always 20/20, and you know, things don't always come out the way that you intend it to come out. So I would love to know what your thoughts are on that topic, because I thought it was very fascinating. I thought her video was less fascinating. I thought the reaction was much more fascinating, because I was truly surprised at how much criticism came out from that. But again, I'm coming from a place of not really knowing that much about her or having that much background knowledge. So fill in the blanks for me. Tell me what I'm missing. What are the blind spots? Because I'm sure there's plenty. I did not fold this very well at all. You guys are all screaming at me about how poorly I am folding this sweatshirt. Let's do this properly. And one of the other things that I wanted to discuss today was also kind of the notion of like having a community of like handbag lovers and people who get you when it comes to handbags. And I have to say, if I'm being very honest with myself, and it sounds really sad and pathetic to say it out loud and actually put it on the internet, but I will be honest in saying that I don't have any friends who are really into handbags. And I know that's so niche and being like, okay, but you have other friends. Yes, I do. So for me, this era of my life has been a little bit difficult in some ways because ever since I was a kid, I've always had a big group of friends who I've loved and connected with, and I had support, and that is a blessing that I've always had in my life, and I'm very fortunate. Even through high school, I've had really great friends that I'm still really close to. College and university, of course, I've had really great friends. My work friends from New York in my corporate days, those were like my best friends too, who I'm still very close to. Of course, when I had kids and, I had young babies and there were toddlers, I had like the best tribe of mom friends. And then I moved out of the country. So I moved to Canada and it has been really difficult, I will say. Now, I'm not going to share what city I moved to because I'm kind of private in that way. And I don't know, but I will say once I moved, and that was like just over 10 years ago, I never found and had the same tribe of friends that I've been used to growing up as a kid and even as a young adult. Yes, I have friends here, of course, but I have friends in different pockets of my life. So I have a friend that I met through this avenue. I have another friend in this avenue. I have another friend in this avenue, but no one knows each other. So it's not like I have a group of girlfriends and be like, oh yeah, let's like go out and have a group girls' night out type of thing. Like, whereas I used to have that, and it was so important to my mental health and to my just happiness and overall well-being that I do feel like a big part of that is missing. Being an adult and having to make friends is really hard. And tell me if you can relate to this. Tell me if I'm a complete loser. And maybe don't call me a loser, but just tell me if you're going through something similar or if you have that tribe of friends as an adult in your life right now. And if you do, like, hold on to that. It's a long distance friendship is sometimes different, right? You can't really banter in the same way that you can with friends who are locally. At least, it's just a little different, but you know what I mean. So that's why part of me felt a sense of community and friendship when I started my YouTube channel. So I'm so grateful to those of you who actually watch my videos and who comment and really connect with me, because I feel that connection and that's so meaningful to me, especially at this part of my life or this time in my life where I feel very disconnected from friends, especially since COVID. This is underwear, so I'm gonna put that aside. No one needs to see that on the internet. There's something to be said about having friends around you that are like-minded, that are close to you in vicinity, like physically close to you, and you can meet up with on the regular. I do feel like I'm missing that at this stage in my life. So I really love that I have this handbag community to connect with, because while it is a very small part of my life, it still very much fills my cup, if that makes any sense. And because I feel like I'm missing that tribe of girlfriends that I used to have, that I've been so used to having my whole life, and now not having that anymore, there is a little bit of a drought, I feel like, in my cup. It's a little bit dried up. And so I really appreciate this community, but let me know where you are in your friendship journey. Do you have friends who you really connect with and you can talk about handbags and fashion and just all the silly stuff? Because at the end of the day, that's what makes friendship fun. It doesn't have to be all that serious all the time. Of course, you're gonna have your ride or die friends, but having friends who don't take themselves too seriously and don't take you too seriously, and it's really lighthearted and it's easy and it's fun, and you can just, whether it's shopping together or just having lunch together or just commiserating over certain things together. I don't know, those are things that we take for granted, and when you feel like it's missing in your life sometimes, it feels a little sad. I'm not gonna lie, it feels a little sad. So I would love to know where you are in that whole friendship journey as an adult. Are you struggling to find your tribe, or do you have a tribe? And maybe this is a good segue into the next topic, which is how much is too much to pay for a handbag, and just shopping in general. Well, I think shopping in general has become kind of like a taboo word. Shopping has become like a dirty word on the internet, especially on YouTube. And I don't know why that is. It's so funny because I was watching a video the other day. I promise you, I do not remember whose video I was watching or even what it was about, but I remember she started out the video, but it kind of alluded to like shopping as an addict. And I was like, oh God, here we go again. Like, just because you are a consumer sometimes doesn't mean you're an addict. And I feel like there's been a lot of talk these days about like, you're an addict, or I'm an addict, and this is my journey. And I love to hear that. I think there are definitely some people who are authentically shopping addicts, and I do think it's a slippery slope that many people can fall into, and it's a real problem for some people. But I don't think it's a problem for a vast majority of people, just because you buy things here and there somewhere. And I can't help but feel a little bit of guilt sometimes, because even though I know I'm not an addict and I'm actually really financially responsible, how do we always have a missing sock? If I can remember, I'm going to show you where my missing sock headquarters is in my laundry room, because it's very useful. I think what I'm trying to say here is that shopping became a dirty word for some reason, and I think that there's two issues here at hand. If we're talking about consumption in general, I think I have a real problem with overconsumption. I personally have a real problem with overconsumption, and I hate that there are so many videos of like Shein hauls and Temu hauls, and that it's like all the rage on TikTok and even on YouTube, and I don't consume any of that stuff. I don't even have TikTok. But it's very much like a problem because it's really feeding into the culture of overconsumption and things being disposable. I think that's a completely different topic that I'm going to put aside because it's a much more complicated topic, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. Okay, battery died. However, I don't think just because you are a consumer of things from time to time that makes you a shopping addict. And perhaps I'm a little bit triggered about it because someone in one of my old videos had made a comment about you are an addict and you are unwell and you are this and this and this. And I did make a video about that particular comment, but just negative comments and judgments and things like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is a level of guilt sometimes when it comes to purchasing things, and especially at higher price points such as luxury handbags. And I touched upon it a little bit in one of my last videos when I showed you my Louis Vuitton capucines. And I was elated and excited and so happy that I finally got it. And at the same time, I had this cloud of guilt that also came with it. And I really had a lot of trouble reconciling the two feelings. I got a lot of comments where people were like, YOLO, you only live once and you should totally do it. Enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with splurging on yourself. And I totally agree with those comments. And yet on the other hand, I still felt this sense of guilt. And I had been thinking about it for a long time. And I really was trying to reconcile these feelings of this push and pull. Let me know your thoughts on where your beliefs lie on this topic. But do you just have like a set dollar amount where you say, okay, X number of dollars, I will not go beyond this amount for a handbag? Or is it more like an emotional thing? There is an emotional part to it, right? So it's kind of like, this is my holy grail, this is gonna be it, I love it so much, or whatever that emotional feeling is, there's nothing wrong with that either. I think that when I think about my own experience, I'm like, you know, I grew up in New York City, public school. I don't know if it's like this anymore, and I don't think it is, but I was a kid who got free lunch. So, and it was all income based. So if you got free lunch, you were underprivileged because you couldn't afford it. Based on your family's income, you could get reduced lunch, or you pay full lunch for the month because your family had enough income to pay for it. And that's kind of how it worked. So I was a kid who always got free lunch. I was a classic immigrant family story of my parents coming from Korea. I saw that struggle. I really internalized that, and I took that with me. And even though I'm in a place where I'm in a much more privileged position, that still stays with you. And I think you can go one of two ways. And for me, I went where it stayed with me, and I think really just an unnecessary purchase. And then especially at that price point, why would you buy something that expensive that you don't really need? That narrative is still in my head, but I think that narrative potentially might be the thing that I need to make that push and pull be balanced so that I don't go off the rails. The other side of it is that I go off the rails and buying stuff because they're making up for times that they couldn't as a kid. I didn't go that route. I think that for me, potentially, I might need that push and pull. I might need to have that guilt in the back of my brain to balance me out so that I always, in a way, for lack of a better word, stay grounded. I'm not sure. I think I've been able to reconcile that difference in YOLO and cool your jets. So tell me what you think about that. Tell me about your own journeys and how you're able to reconcile these kinds of purchases. And do you have that guilt when you buy handbags? Or are you kind of like, you know what, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the finer things in life? I agree with that too. But again, it's always coupled with that little voice in my head of guilt. I feel like this was an interesting conversation. Thank you for doing laundry with me. So tell me what your thoughts are as it pertains to adult friendships, the Nikki Sky video and the reaction around it. And what is your handbag limit, like of how much is too much? And do you always lose a sock in the laundry? So this is my laundry room. I love these floors. They're like a basket weave tile, which is so classic and beautiful. Laundry is 15 cents around here. That's my sign. So I don't know if the color is showing properly, but this is a silver sage color. So it's this very soft green with gold hardware. This is some more cabinetry. And we had this LG styler nook built specifically for my LG styler. And this is where I keep my loose lost socks. So this is not the same sock as this. So this will be going up. These little boot clips are to hang, I think, your boots in a closet, which is what I used to do a long time ago, but I don't use it for that anymore. And I just find it really easy to hang the lonely socks that can't find its partner. So that's my lost sock headquarters and my laundry room tour. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Share those down below and let's have a discussion going. And if you enjoy this video, I would love it if you hit the like button. That really helps my channel out. And if you want to binge watch some of my other videos, you can do that here. And I will see you next time.